You thought silence was my prison. You thought darkness meant death. But silence does not kill. Darkness does not suffocate. Silence breeds fire. Darkness births storms. And inside me, something began to burn. Not a flicker. Not a candle. Not the fragile spark you expected. No. What you lit inside me was a furnace. The fire did not come from outside. It came from within. It came from every word you poisoned. It came from every promise you shattered. It came from every moment I gave you loyalty, and you repaid it with betrayal. Look at me. Do not turn away now. This is your creation. This is the monster your lies built. You didn't kill me. You kindled me. Every wound you gave me became fuel. Every drop of blood you spilled became gasoline. Every betrayal was a match thrown into the core of who I am. And now my veins do not carry blood. They carry fire. Every heartbeat is an eruption. Every breath is smoke and ember. Every word I speak is flame. You thought I would crumble under your treachery, but you miscalculated. You cannot burn a man who has already become fire. You cannot kill what is already transformed into flame. Do you hear it? That roar behind my words. That's the inferno you lit. And it will never die. I am no longer a man. I am no longer flesh and weakness. I am fire incarnate. I am the blaze that devours excuses. The furnace that melts betrayal into steel. The wildfire that consumes everything false. You wanted me weak. You wanted me broken. Instead, you created something in. After betrayal, there is no noise, no voices, no comfort, no answers, just silence. You thought silence would suffocate me, that the quiet would bury me deeper than your blades ever could. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is heavy. It presses on your chest until you learn to breathe differently. It crushes you until you become something uncrushable. And that's where I found myself. Buried, not in dirt, but in quiet. Surrounded not by enemies, but by echoes. Left not with companions, but with the shadow of my own thoughts. At first, I hated it. The silence was a tormentor. Every tick of the clock sounded like your laughter. Every empty room felt like your betrayal, whispering again and again. I tried to outrun it, but silence does not chase. It surrounds. You can't escape it. You have to face it. And in facing it, I discovered its truth. Silence is not a grave. It is a forge. It strips you down to nothing. No masks. No excuses. No illusions. Just the raw man staring back in the mirror. And in that reflection, I saw the truth. No one is coming. No one will save me. No one will lift me out of the ruins. The silence was brutal, but it was honest. It forced me to confront the reality you tried to hide behind your betrayal. That I was alone. And being alone was the greatest weapon I would ever wield. So I began to build. Not with bricks, not with mortar, but with hours, with scars, with patience. Every day in silence was another stone in the fortress of my will. Every night was another layer of armor across my soul. You thought silence would erase me, but it was writing me again. You thought betrayal would bury me, but betrayal does not bury kings. It only plants them deeper. And from the soil of ruin, crowns are grown. You thought you were clever, that your blade was silent, that I would never see it coming. And I didn't. That's the part that burns, the part that still drips venom into my veins. Because it wasn't my enemy who betrayed me. It was you. The one I trusted. The one I bled beside. The one I called brother. And you smiled while you carved me open. Middle. I remember the moment clearly. Not the exact day, not the exact hour, but the feeling. The coldness spreading across my chest as I realized the truth. The silence that filled the room when the mask slipped from your face. It wasn't rage that struck first. It was disbelief. A kind of grief so sharp it paralyzed me. I stood there, staring into eyes I thought were loyal. And I saw nothing but reflection. No brother, no ally, no friend. Just betrayal staring back at me. Do you know what that does to a man? It doesn't break him all at once. It shatters him, piece by piece. Slow, cruel, precise. You don't collapse immediately. You bleed out in fragments. And you watched. You watched me drown in the silence. You watched me choke on the lies. You thought it was over. You thought you had written the final page. But listen closely. I didn't stay buried. I didn't rot in the grave you built. Every blade you drove into my back became iron in my spine. Every cut hardened me. Every scar was a reminder. I am still here. You mistook silence for ashes. That's all that remained after the fire. The wreckage of trust. The skeletons of promises. The dust of a man who once believed in you. You thought ashes meant the end. That when the fire consumed me, there would be nothing left. But ashes do not mean death. Ashes mean transformation. From ashes, new kings rise. From ashes, legends are written. From ashes, crowns are forged. I stood in the ruins of everything we once built. The walls reduced to soot. The air thick with smoke and memory. And I did not weep. I reached down into the ashes with steady hands. I lifted what you thought was dead, and I shaped it. I molded it. I crowned myself in ruin. Do you know what it means to wear ashes as a crown? It means nothing false remains. It means everything fragile is burned away. It means I have walked through hellfire, and I stand untouched by its attempt to erase me. You wore lies like jewels. You wore betrayal like silk. But I wear ashes. And ashes do not glitter. They smolder. They haunt. They burn into the memory of all who look upon them. This crown I wear is not made of gold. It is made of scars. It is made of nights when silence tore me apart. It is made of mornings where I rose alone. It is made of fire that refused to die. And I wear it not with shame, but with pride. Because you did not strip me of my throne. You built it. Your betrayal was the architect. Your lies were the stone. Your fire was the forge. And the crown upon my head, you forged it with your treachery. I am no longer the man you betrayed. You erased me. At least that's what you told yourself. You crossed my name out as if it was nothing more than ink. You whispered to the world, "He is finished. He is gone. He will not rise again." And the world believed you. They laughed. They nodded. They said, yes, he was too weak. He was too trusting. He deserved the grave they gave him. But forgotten does not mean gone. Erased does not mean empty. Absence does not mean death. I was not absent. I was becoming. Exile was my crucible. You thought casting me out meant the end. But exile does not erase. It evolves. In the shadows, I trained. In silence, I sharpened. In isolation, I rebuilt every broken piece into a blade. Every day away from you was another scar that healed harder. Every night alone was another seed of strength planted deeper. Every humiliation you handed me became another brick in the fortress of my will. And while you celebrated, I was studying. While you grew weaker in your comfort, I grew sharper in my hunger. While you counted me out, I counted every reason to return. You thought betrayal would end me, but betrayal only wrote my prophecy. Do you feel it now? The tremor in the ground, the cold that creeps into your bones at night, the silence that no longer feels safe. That is me. That is the return of the forgotten. I did not come back to ask. I did not come back to beg. I came back to take. I came back to claim. I came back to crown myself in the throne you thought you stole. You mistook my absence for weakness, but absence is power. It is the breath. In the beginning, there was noise, laughter, lies, false promises spoken like oaths, and then betrayal cut through it all. What followed was silence. But silence was not the end. Silence was the foundation. Silence was the throne. They said he was broken. They said he was gone. They said the silence had swallowed him whole. But silence does not devour kings. It crowns them. In silence, he did not collapse. He constructed. In silence, he did not wither. He wove himself into something stronger. In silence, he built his throne. It was not carved of marble or gold. It was carved of scars. It was carved of sleepless nights where rage burned hotter than fire. It was carved of mornings where his name was no longer spoken, yet his resolve only deepened. And when he sat upon it, it was not with joy. It was not with mercy. It was with the calm of inevitability. Hear this truth. The throne of silence is not for the weak. It is not for those who crave applause. It is not for those who beg for recognition. It is for the exiled. It is for the betrayed. It is for the man who was buried and still clawed his way back. On that throne he sits, not as a victim, not as a survivor, but as a sovereign, forged in betrayal. The silence that was meant to erase him became his empire. The quiet that mocked him became his crown. The stillness that haunted him became his dominion. Now the world bows to that silence. The same silence they once mocked now terrifies them. Because they know silence is the sound of a storm before it strikes. Silence is the breath before thunder. Silence is the throne of kings. And so the prophecy is written. From betrayal, this is where it ends. Not in whispers, not in silence, but in fire, in blood, in prophecy. You thought betrayal was my execution, but betrayal was my coronation. You thought the crown would never touch my head, but you placed it there yourself. Every lie you spoke was a hammer. Every scar you left was a jewel. Every knife you drove into my back was another carving in the metal. And now the crown you tried to deny me sits heavy on my head. Not of gold, not of silver, but of ash, of scars, of silence, of fire. Your betrayal forged my crown. Look at me now. Look at what you created. You thought you buried me in betrayal, but burial became planting. You thought silence would erase me, but silence became strategy. You thought fire would consume me, but fire became my breath. You thought ashes meant the end, but ashes became my throne. You thought exile meant I was forgotten, but exile became prophecy. Every move you made was not victory. It was construction. Every strike you dealt was not destruction. It was coronation. I am not the man you betrayed. I am not the fool you left behind. I am not the ghost you whispered about in the dark. I am the king your lies built. I am the sovereign your knives forged. I am the storm your silence summoned. And I wear this crown proudly, because you forged it with your own hands. You will remember me, not as victim, not as broken, but as inevitable. Your betrayal will be carved into history as the day I was crowned. The moment when the man you tried to destroy became the king who cannot be dethroned. You will bow, not to mercy, not to forgiveness, but to inevitability.